Okay, I want to talk to a whistleblower. This is Whistleblower Wednesday. Let's bring Mimi in the next segment, okay? Have a little more time. She wants to do some whistleblowing on some stuff that's taken place here in the Bay Area that, folks, you need to know about. This is our last opportunity to respond before these nitwit masterminds in Sacramento cram stuff down our throat that we don't want. We will get to that next on KSFO. There's legislation that passed in Sacramento. It's now law. The goal is, by 2050, to rearrange California in such a way that we'll have less people living in urban areas, more people living in less people living in rural areas, more people living in urban areas. We're going to be beholden to mass transit. They're going to make it more and more difficult for you to own a personal vehicle, drive a personal vehicle. Instead, you're going to be shuttled around in the various mass transit, high-speed rail systems, etc. Even flying a plane from Northern California to Southern California is going to be so incredibly expensive. It'll only be for business travelers. No, folks, I'm not making any of this up. This is all legislated. This is the plan. This is what they're doing. Stack and pack housing where we live in these urban areas with retail on the bottom floor, all these units above, and small carbon footprints.
We're not saying that's a bad idea. I mean, that's...
No, I'm saying the whole idea is bad. It sucks.
Well, here's the thing is we don't have a choice anymore. We don't have a choice. If you want to live in stack and pack, go right ahead. But that doesn't mean all the rest of us have to live our lives like that.
And they're going to make it very, very difficult for those of you who have the large house in the suburbs. It's going to be so expensive to heat that house, to power that house. You'll say, how the hell with it? You know, we just can't afford this anymore. We got to leave. They'll do things like, for example, get rid of Proposition 13 and make your property taxes go through the roof.
They're working on that right now.
Absolutely. And so it's a brave new world that they're developing, and all of this is in the name of sustainability and healing the planet. No, it's not. No, that's their excuse for it. That's what they're trying to sell you on. This is about controlling your life, because these masterminds believe they were born with a better brain than the rest of us, and they have some kind of right or responsibility or something where they owe it to Gaia to tell the rest of us how to live. Okay, so with that set up, ladies and gentlemen, here's Mimi. Hey, Mimi, good morning.
Mimi.
Good morning, Brian. That was an excellent introduction. I want to thank you for that. So one of the components of what you were describing is something called the Regional Housing Needs Analysis or allocation, and it is a number that comes from a bureaucrat in the state to the region, the Association of Bay Area Governments, and then they in turn allocate that number to every single city in the Bay Area. So all 101 cities get their quota of housing, and that quota also includes how many very low-income houses they must build. So even if a city is built out like a village kind of place like Los Gatos or Los Altos or Saratoga or Corte Madera, they all have to take their fair share of housing. Mm-hmm. And so this is exactly what Melanie was describing. There's not going to be any choice. If you want to live in the city, traditionally you lived in the city, and if you wanted to live in the suburbs, you could do that. But they're going to make everything look exactly the same. And that's and again, it's coming from unelected bureaucrats. The number is something that the city has to object to the region. And there's a deadline, which is February 18th. Now, most cities have been traditionally rolling over on these things. They've just accepted their housing number and moved right along.
Corte Madera has not. It's been fighting.
Yes, they've been fighting, but most cities don't. That's one out of maybe 100 cities that have objected. And the interesting thing, too, Melanie, is there are a couple cities who have pushed back to get their housing number reduced. Like Novato got their housing number reduced, right? But they still had to have a housing number. So the bottom line on this is if citizens go to their city council and demand that they object to the housing number, we have a chance to fight this. If we just let the city council roll over, we're stuck. So this deadline is February 18th. There's a lot of information on my website, bayarealiberty.org. There's two tabs, one that says housing number background, and you can actually go to that tab and click and look and see what your town has to take, what your town's quota is. And then there's another tab that says housing number challenge, and that actually explains to you what to say to your city council and what the background is.
Folks,
So,
if you don't believe Mimi, just listen, because I've seen it in my neighborhood where I live in Novato, and I'm suddenly faced with the prospect of having low-income housing literally 2 blocks away from me. This is happening everywhere.
Melody, and here's an interesting thing. Los Gatos had a meeting about 2 weeks ago on this very issue, and one of the people who got up said when she went to buy the house, they told her there were going to be possibly 29 homes built on a property near her. When she saw the new plan, it's going to be 500 homes.
Sure. And Mimi, I'm looking here in San Francisco County, and this is some of the information that you've passed along to me. Currently in San Francisco County, there are just over 6,000 low-income houses. By 2022 in San Francisco County, we're going to go from 6,000 of these subsidized low-income housing units to almost 30,000.
Yeah.
These are the kind of increases they're talking about. So obviously there's a couple things here. One, it seems to me that these masterminds aren't anticipating any kind of economic recovery anytime soon, for one. And the other is they're going to be taking people from, all parts and herding them into these urban areas to be living next to people who are middle income, upper income, etc. So it's just sort of this one pool of individuals living in close proximity.
And it's going to drag down everybody else's home values.
And it's also going to create voting blocks in these areas that are going to be unbreakable. You'll have, if you've got 28,000 or 30,000 low-income housing units in San Francisco, that's 30,000 voters Democrat for life.
Yep. Correct.
Okay, so give us our marching orders. Just a few seconds left. Give us our marching orders. What can our people do to help you?
I think the biggest thing is to go to Bay Area Liberty, click on the tab that says Housing Numbers Challenge. It explains everything. It tells you what to say to your city council. And if they don't agree to protest this, then you need to document that fact and then vote them out of office.
Good.
The next round.
Mimi, keep up the great work. You're a patriot.